Hi everyone, welcome again to my YouTube channel Fitness Free Computer Geek. Now today I am presenting you another episode on a book review section of this book, that is Rich Dad and Poor Dad. In the last episode we have seen about the first lesson of Rich Dad and Poor Dad and how to become rich since Robert was 9 years old. Now continuing this, we will now discuss about the second lesson that Rich Dad taught Robert. That is why there is necessity of financial education. Why? Because Mike Dad used to hire people who are more intelligent than him, so that he could learn many things from them. But then another story, Robert tell that they were not popular in school. They were only weird kid. Why? Because they didn't follow the crowd. They most of the time argue with the teacher that what is the practical application of what you're teaching here. Can I give you some example? The teacher always said that just follow the standard procedure, which destroy the creativity, and it is really the case here. Okay? Teaches you to follow only the predefined step and work for money. This should not be case here that Robert want to say here. He is dead. Why? Because his teacher always used to say that school only produces employees, not employers. And most of the time they asked teacher, what please teach me about money. But teacher told them that forget about money, just work for it, money will follow. But it's not the case here. You also have to work for money to, it's true that if you work something for it, money will follow you, okay, but it does not mean that you will also keep that money for a long time. To keeping this money, to increase your money exponentially, you must have financial education, which this school lack behind. Okay, they didn't teach about you any financial things there. So more they learn about power of money, and Roy is rich dad. He used to make distant from the school and the people who didn't have any knowledge about the money. So that was the story Robert shared here. His educated dad never pressurized from good grade, but he always argued with him about his money. Okay, how they have a psychology of money, how his father thought about his money, and how Robert think about the money. There was so much distinction because most of the Robert thought are based on rich dad thought, and most of the educated dad thought are only based on what he learned had in his Stanford and in his PhD. That's he want to say here. So by the time he was 16, he can keep book. He talked with attorneys, real estate agent, brokers, and stock market expertise. But on the other hand, his dad, educated dad, only talked to with other teacher. That's the difference he want to say here. That in very tender age, at the age of 16, he started to get the information about how to manage the money from the people who are expert in the money handling process. Okay, so especially his educated dad always think that your house is your greatest asset. Okay, that was what I was talking about. As house is your greatest asset, you should and keep that house. You have to work harder and earn money and pay for your expenses. But bigger house means the bigger expenses will bigger, which will disbalance your balance sheet, and your expenses will rises, and for to compensate those expenses you will also work more harder. Okay, rat race again begin. But most people they don't think that home is very emotional thing, but whenever emotion is stuck in your mind, it will deteriorate your financial intelligence. Okay, whenever emotion make you to take any decision, that is want Robert to aware about it. Okay, so as I say that if you most middle class people is the greatest asset, and bigger house means bigger expenses, and to compensate your expenses you have to work harder. So it will rise your expenses column, and then let me give you the diagram we have shown here. By using diagram, it's very easy to explain. Here is given example, just basic thing here. See it, that is that what is the taught about that home is your liability and not asset, but what they taught him that home is your greatest asset, which will disbalance your balance sheet. So what is happening here is, suppose this is the home asset mortgage here, and this mortgage is used to pay for your expenses here. So you can see that assets column is blank here. So liability is used to pay for your expenses, hence you didn't have any money to save to invest in assets, so you will definitely become poor. You are getting it? Hope you are getting it. It's very simple thing, but it's being very simple way described in this book. Okay, when you will read this book, you will understand it very carefully as I explain it here. Okay, so now continue. If you put more money in your asset column, it will be helpful for you in a long run. Okay, but he ain't saying that didn't buy any house. He's saying that grow your asset column so that all the expenses are being paid by asset, not using your liability to pay your assets. Okay, all the expenses is your liability, so you can expense. Obviously everybody want to live lavish lifestyle, but for this lavish lifestyle you must first accumulate the assets, which the asset will giving you money. This money will use to compensate all the expenses, and you will also save some money which you will earn an asset itself, and again you reinvest this money in the assets itself, and then the money will grow exponentially. This is the technique used by rich people. So always the rich get richer. This is the technique they use, the process rich people use, because they are financially educated, they are financially very strong, they have the great idea to earn more money. So, and then he gave an example of educated dad, that always educated dad is balance sheet was not balanced, and his cash flow is only because of his liability he is making. So that house assets, and because of that his expenses rises, and because of that compensated expenses he work harder, and all income are used to compensate these expenses, hence he always remain poor and struggle financially. That's what Robert want to convey here. So now the most important question, why rich get richer? Okay, so why rich get richer? It is the most important question you must be thinking, and most of people criticize it, take it in a negative way, that the rich are getting richer and poor are getting richer. Why? Because they have financial education. You must, if you want to get rich, get a financial education. Why are you blaming the rich for that? Okay, that's Robert want to change things here. So Robert explained that rich people focus on increasing their assets column, and which will be helpful in paying for the expenses, and also the remaining balance will be reinvested in the assets column itself, and which will rise their money compoundedly, so which hence they become rich. Okay, so here also given one diagram here, you can see there the rich people always income increases, and you can see the balance sheet of rich people here, that their liability are very small and their assets are large. Why? Because they put money and reinvest in the money in the asset itself, and this money is used to pay for their expenses. Okay, that's why their expenses, you can see their expenses reduces by all their expenses are mostly produced by mostly compensated by the assets, and because of that their liability decreases. Okay, because they have lots of money, and hence of course the assets increase, which produce also incomes, and their income rises. So you can see this diagram also, that most of the income is based on the assets. You can see the assets column, all the money of assets column are used to has accumulated has their income. Okay, so which is again used to pay for the expenses here. Okay, that's Robert want to convey what the rich people follow. This is also an important question, why middle class struggle then. So most of the middle class primary income is only their salary, so as their wages increases their taxes also increases, and their expenses increases according to their salary, and hence the rat race begin. They work more, then again the income become larger, and again their taxes rises and their expenses also rise. They didn't make their assets column very big, instead they make liability column very big. Okay, you can see here the diagram here, their liability are too big and assets are very small. That's why they financially struggle. Okay, hope you're getting it. It's very simple thing, in a very simple way Robert has tried to explain here, and most of the commerce people have very technical team. Accountant student and business student will they argue with me that they have very complex thing to study. Why you are seeing simple things? But this is a very simple thing which they also already studying. Okay, this is a very simple way that Robert explained how rich are become richer and middle class struggle financially. Also he have given example, middle class fall for mutual fund because they want to play safe, and they don't take any risks. So, and they didn't have any time to learn financial literacy, because focusing on money and working more and more so that they can produce more money. And mutual fund expertise, broker find this opportunity and told, don't take this, your money is saved within us, invest in your fund and you will get your money back with interest. So that's why they follow the mutual fund. And why they play risks? So you would natural question ask, why they would play risks, why they cannot take the risks, why? This is the important question. Some of viewer might be thinking. So why this is the case that they don't play? Because their balance rate are not balanced at all. They have created large column of liability as the diagram show, and because they don't have any assets which produce their income, not in a place to take risks. Okay, so why they are not in the first place in this condition? Because they didn't have any financial education. So hope you have understand about the difference between assets and liabilities. By concluding the chapter, Robert had given some about difference between wealth and not net worth. Net worth is actually the difference between your assets and liability, and wealth is person ability to survive more and more days. Okay, well, so this might be confusing here, but you might understand that net worth is also considered of the assets which didn't produce any income, like something in your garage. These are also commonly considered the assets, and which is which make difference between liability and which give you net worth. But wealth is different thing, certainly different thing. Wealth is, income producing assets are called wealth actually. So wealth is actually the measure of how much money your money is making. If you're getting how much money you're making means assets, income producing assets. That's the difference. If you want to increase your expenses, first you have to maintain the cash flow. So most people want, obviously their expenses will increases. You can live a lavish style, but first of all you have to increase your cash flow, which will balance your wealth. Cash flow to maintain that level of wealth. Okay, if you hope you're getting it, the difference between wealth and net worth. That's Robert try to explain here. So next goal after producing this asset to compensate your expenses, next goal is to produce so much assets that so that you after expenses, using money for expenses, paying for expenses, the remaining money you could have reinvested in the asset column itself. Okay, so then your money will increase compoundedly and exponentially. Okay, so if you follow this straight, you will be in a road to become a rich person. Okay, so hope you get it. So that was the summary of this second lesson. It is very interesting thing. He has explained it with using diagram, and in the upcoming lessons also he have used this diagram. Okay, very basic thing he have explained in this book. Okay, so everybody must have copy of this book. Okay, so if you don't have get time, please watch this explanation by myself in my channel. Okay, so thanks for watching. See you soon.